Welcome to the Footy Philosophy Podcast. I'm here today hosting Brendan Powers here with my man Kev as I wear my throwback. I'm not even sure Real Madrid. You'll see it is Zidane and
Right.
Kev's rocking the clean yellow Tottenham kit. How we doing today, Kev?
We are doing good. We're on a snow day, so it's always nice. How are you doing?
Good, didn't have to go do my student teaching today, so we can do this in the morning instead of after work tonight, which is
Yeah.
nice. So, I can actually come home and I should go to bed, but I won't. I'll probably play some club. But it was an interesting weekend. Not a lot going on, but a lot did happen.
Mm-hmm.
For starters, we'll just hop right into it. Roma this morning fire Jose Mourinho. Justified for you, Kev?
Um, I would say somewhat. He's obviously won them the Conference League, which I think for a club like Roma is pretty solid. Maybe you're hoping for Europa League, but definitely not UCL.
First trophy in 40 years.
So that cannot go understated. That is what Mourinho is going to do for you. He would have done it for Spurs had they not fired him a few days before the Carabao Cup final. I think all of us Spurs fans are pretty sure that would have happened. But yeah, obviously Mourinho tends to burn bridges, be a bit of a polarizing figure, but I don't know, man. This guy's a historical figure, and I just think clubs need to be a little more grateful for him. Honestly, I don't know. What do you think?
So what I was gonna say is it was entirely justified. Like the results haven't been there this year. Um, he's been very polarizing in the media this season as well. We've talked about it a little bit, not really a lot, but we've mentioned it. And even beyond that, just the worst part of all, just was the fact that it kind of felt ungrateful from Roma in a way for a guy that won their first trophy in 40 years. But beyond that, let's say you fire Jose Mourinho and then you hire someone that's worth it. It makes it justifiable, which I'll turn this to. They hired Daniel De Rossi. Is that on a interim, I'm gonna guess, basis? But no, it's full. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. He's a Roma legend, so that's what got him the job. He has coached senior football for one season. He got his team relegated from Serie B to Serie C. So when you're in, I'll tie this into my experience. We fire Carlo Ancelotti. We bring in Rafa Benitez. That's not a justifiable firing. If you fire Carlo Ancelotti and you bring in Xabi Alonso, that might be a let's just say like this season. I'm not like forget everything that's happened already. Let's say Real Madrid are kind of, stumbling a little bit. Let's say last season, because last season there were some calls for Xabi's head, or sorry, Carlo's head. You fire Carlo and you hire Xabi, that's justifiable. But I think Real Madrid do their due diligence. They don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
They go and yep, they make sure. Look, we're not happy with the way Carlo did, but can we find better right now?
Yeah.
Nagelsmann kind of tanked his stock a little bit, was interested in the German national team. Hansi Flick was kind of fluttering with the German national team, so not really a fan. If Nagelsmann had just left Leipzig, I think you probably fire Carlo Ancelotti in favor of Julian Nagelsmann. But the way it happened at Bayern, there's questions: can he manage a big club? So was there a better option on the market? No, you don't fire him.
That's
With Jose, was there a better option on the market? Probably not. Probably would have been better just to wait for summer. Is this guy going to get you to European spots? Probably not. He's probably going to actually sink you further. And this is going to be the Barca complex that we've seen over the past couple of years, where they get rid of someone like Ernesto Valverde because it's not going the way they wanted to. They hire Kike Setien. It gets worse. Ronald Koeman wasn't doing great, but he was doing okay. Was still Nah, he was pretty brutal. But again, you went Ernesto Valverde, Kiti Setien to Ronald Koeman, who was really unlucky. And then Xavi comes in and they have that quick manager bounce, and then we see them regress back to where they were. You had Ernesto Valverde, which we will talk about in this podcast, but because Athletic Club are now in third in La Liga over Atletico and Barcelona. And guess who their coach is? Ernesto Valverde. So they fired him because they didn't like the style. You didn't fire Jose because of the results. The results are secondary in this conversation, like with the Ernesto Valverde stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So, you fire him because of the polarizing figure. You fire him because of I don't know if you saw it, dude. Jose was crying today in his car, and like the Roma fans were thanking him. They're like, Jose, like we're sorry, man. Thank you, like for everything. Like, bro, he was beloved in Roma. It was just a weird. The problem is that the fans were kind of split on him at this point because the results haven't been there, and they don't like the way he acts. And don't mean to get political, but kind of like Donald Trump in the U.S. Like
Sure.
a lot of people wanted him gone because of the way he acted instead of what he actually did. Like when you take away the antics, a lot of people were quite happy with the results of everything. You know what I mean? Like that's all
Yeah.
I mean is that like
Yeah.
stuff was cheaper, whatever. Like were Roma where they wanted to be? Probably not, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It could be worse. Is my point. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of what I mean is that like they're gonna regret this for a little while. I'm not saying forever. Kind of like how, again, just saying politically, a lot of Americans wish Trump was still in office over Biden.
Yeah. That's the key part is thinking about who they're gonna bring in after. And like you said, if there was someone lined up that's better than Daniele De Rossi, this isn't even necessarily disrespect on him. It's just he's young in terms of what it means to be a manager. Now I don't know what type of project they're now working on. Are they going to lean into a rebuild with him? Are they going to say, "Hey, look, let's take a look at like a 5-year plan with you instead of like worrying about getting into UCL right away"? Then that's different. That's very, very different. But we don't know that, and only time will tell with this. Obviously, great player back in the day, but when it comes to a manager, we are not sure. Anyways, they sit in ninth right now. They're +8 goal difference. I always like to look at goal difference, when it comes to mid-table teams. Um, because if you're if you're sat in mid-table, um, there's something going on clearly when you're not flying. And they 7 losses, 5 draws, 8 wins. I don't know. They're sat near Napoli right now. It's a very weird dilemma with them. They lost to Milan 3-1 yesterday, which we'll also get into. They're knocked out of the Coppa Italia. Um, let's see, where did they?
Milan's a good team. Like
Yeah,
it's not like going into that game you kind of expect Milan to win. So I'm pretty sure. But again, the results in a row weren't good. So I can't blame Jose. Um,
but not to linger here, but he did get them out of the Europa League group stage. While they do have to do the preliminary round, they got out of the group stage and they advanced, and they have Feyenoord, so they'll probably advance once again. It'll be a good tie there,
well,
but
he did really good in the Europa League last year too for them. So it's not like not to tie this back to Spurs, but it's in my opinion, you keep him to the end of the year and you just hope you do well in Europa League because
yeah.
he's in cup competitions, he is top tier, let's be honest. So, but I think we've kind of talked about this. Daniel De Rossi will fail. So I can put that on my mama's grave, okay?
All
Um,
right.
so moving on, we had an interesting Clasico on the weekend. Real Madrid won 4-1. And Xavi's Barcelona gets completely dominated. And worst of all, Xavi's usually like, oh, like we were the better team, we dominated the ball. This game we was like we were dominated. Like so Real Madrid kind of had their way with them. Even when Real Madrid were 2-0 up, like Barca had their possession, but like Real Madrid were pretty comfortable in their block. Um,
Yeah.
and that's kind of been Carlos Real Madrid in general. Against this Barca side normally is like we don't usually blow them out. It's just kind of like when we win, it's kind of a dominating performance. And sometimes even when we dominate, we kind of lose. And we got real lucky from a Vinicius Jr. hat trick, sixth hat trick in Super Cup history, and fifth hat trick in Clasico this century. Is Vinicius Jr. better than he gets credit for?
Um, is he better than he gets credit for? I would say slightly. He's obviously a premier talent. He's one of the best left wingers in the world, inside forwards in the world. It's probably better to call him inside forward at this point. But yeah, people don't. When we live in a prem-centric world, people don't drag his name into the ring too often. They talk about the Salas and the Sakas and the Suns. When Vinicius is definitely right up there.
I think he's better than all those guys. Obviously, I'm biased, but I see. I think for a lot of Real Madrid fans, because we see it on a daily basis,
Yeah,
um, we believe he's with the Mbappes and Haaland. We believe he's below them, but we believe he's a candidate with them. A back-to-back 40 goal contribution seasons. He's probably not going to get there this season, but it's going to be because of injuries. He's pretty much missed the entire year.
yeah,
And this is his third game back from a long injury, and he cooks. And, just his evolution as a player from a touchline winger that was like dazzling, he can still do that. But he's now getting into goal scoring opportunities, um, which Cristiano-esque evolution. And I'm not saying he's becoming Cristiano, but Cristiano was that touchline winger, the dazzling guy, and then as he got older, the goals started coming, he started cutting in.
yeah.
So
No, I agree with you. And long term, he's gonna have to be the main goal scoring guy for you guys because Bellingham's not gonna score 14 goals in 13 games. Back to back to back like he has been. Um,
mhm.
yeah, what a game from him, and he is becoming the Madrid talisman, and he really has been since Benzema left. Um, I
And
don't know.
even with Benzema there, he was like a Robin to Benzema's Batman,
Yeah,
which Robin's pretty cool too. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's not like, and people last year he was Batman and like with no Robin. And now it's kind of more like a Justice League type thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like because like everyone's kind of like Rodrigo's having a good year, Bellingham's having a good year. Like Bellingham's going to take the headlines because he's the English guy, because he's the English speaker, and we live in an English-centric world. Um, for better or for worse, who cares? Doesn't matter. Because of that, Bellingham's going to take the headlines. At least for they talk about him in the Prem. They talk about him. He's always on this Champions League post game shows talking. But I do think Vinny is the better player when it comes between him and Bellingham. Not by much though. At least let's just put it this way: Bellingham's floor is higher, but Vinicius' ceiling is higher. If you know what I mean. Like you're gonna get more from Bellingham on a game to game basis, but Vinicius is gonna give you more on when it matters. And Vinny's big game highlight reel is actually insane. Like just in your head, like think of all the Vinicius goals. He's got like he keeps Liverpool on fucking game game to game basis.
yeah,
He's got a good record against City. He's got a good record against Barca. He's got 10 goals and assists against Barca in 9 games. Or no, sorry, it's 10 goals and assists in 9 finals for Real Madrid. So he's showing up in finals. It's just in that penny took, man, like apparently it was Bellingham's turn to take the pen because we don't have a pen taker, and Vinny was like, "Can I have it?" And you got to give it to the guy on hat trick.
Yeah.
So, and it was a good pen, man. Like I've been on the train of Vinny should take all the pens for a year now, 2 years now. Um, when Kareem wasn't there, just because I think it's important to instill that confidence in a young kid and to help him be like, all right, these are mine to take. Kind of
Yeah.
like they did with Cristiano. I mean, when Cristiano came to Madrid, he split him with Kaká. Like but that's because he respected Kaká enough to split him with him. And I'm not saying Vinny should be like mine, like like the Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, and be like mine, mine, mine.
Yeah.
But I think the club should be like, look, Vinny, they're yours to take. That was my opinion. But then he missed one in preseason, and then Rodrigo missed one, and then Jose Lu missed one, and then we were all like, who the fuck should take these things? But we do have a lot of good pen takers. Cruz has taken them a lot. Modric, Jose Lu. Bellingham, I think, took two for Dortmund and scored both. But it was good to see Vinicius get that confidence, put in a pen in a game that matters because the one he missed was in preseason. He hit crossbar. I don't know if you remember, it was a fucking rocket
No.
against Barca in preseason. It hit the crossbar. Um, but so we do know Bellingham's going to take the next penalty now. So because it's going to be his turn in the rotation, but you got to give it to the guy. And I'm happy we talked about Vinicius because he deserves to be talked about after this game. But also, tchouameni had a fantastic game. Just another one who really just had a fantastic game and something to be mentioned. And, I'll let you talk on this after because I know I've been kind of long-winded here.
You're good.
All the good teams in the world have a DM who plays consistently, right? Like Bayern have kind of struggled, but like they have Kimmich. City have Rodri. Arsenal have Declan. And I know Arsenal struggled right now, but you need that. Real Madrid, Casemiro wasn't that fantastic, but you had the DM in place. In a lot of these positionalism teams, and even Arsenal, I don't really think because structurally, I think they're kind of off. That's why I don't want to count Declan. But um, Tottenham, they got that double pivot of Basuma and usually Sar, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you have the DMs in place, and they've been good. What teams don't have DMs in place are struggling. United, I believe Liverpool are struggling. I know they're really good right now, but I think they're getting killed in transition a lot. I just think, they have, I think their back line's been really good and kind of having that back three with Gomez, Konate, and VVD has really helped and Trent tucking in. But they do have it with Trent tucking in too in transition. Um, but I just want to get your thoughts. Barca don't have the DM. Uh,
Mm.
they're playing FDJ and Gundogan as like a double pivot, and like they don't have a proper DM there. So like I just want to get your thoughts on like kind of like how the DM role has kind of come back because for a number of years it was just kind of like everyone wants to copy Busquets, but Busquets did a lot on the defensive side too.
Yeah. No, it's a tricky one. Obviously, when it comes to Barcelona, what they don't really have is someone who can win the ball back. Obviously, De Jong is more than capable of progressing the ball or, finding Pedri in order to progress the ball. Same with Gundogan, but they don't have a guy that's going to put out fires, which a lot of people like to talk about. United don't either. Amrabat was supposed to be that guy, and so far it hasn't worked out.
And
That's what
Casemiro hasn't been healthy.
exactly. And tchouameni does that to perfection. Rodri does it a bit differently. Declan Rice is more than capable of doing it, and that is what he does. It's probably the position that needs to be the most athletic these days as well. So that's why you don't want to really rely on an older guy like Casemiro, which is, no disrespect to him. But it's why you don't want to rely on a guy like Frankie de Jong as your six. He's very technical, a very technical player with an insane football IQ, but does he have the athleticism to, fill in the gaps if your Balde is pushing forward? Because that's probably what they need. Um, like we've seen with Shaka at Leverkusen. Um, but yeah,
It's a
I
good point, the Shaka point.
Then that's why
Because he
Arsenal was
does
good.
both.
Yes, that's why Arsenal were so good last season. His role evolved a little bit, but they still had him there. He was really an underrated part of that team last season, and I was really surprised that they let him go. I mean, obviously they're making room for Declan Rice, but Xhaka was on the left side of that midfield, and now they're right-sided heavy. It's no wonder.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see where Barcelona go. When they brought in Frank Kessié, I thought he was going to be much better for them, and now he's gone. Um,
He was always good in Clásicos. I think he'd actually be really good for them right now, but they just need any money they can get, and they refuse
yeah,
to sell any prize possessions, right? Like
yeah,
they won't let go of Ronald Araujo, they won't let go of Koundé, they won't let go of Frank. I mean, they want to let go of Frankie because they see it as surplus, but um, I think letting go of Frankie's probably the next thing they want to do. They have too many midfielders, man, and Pedri, Gundogan, Frankie De Jong for two positions is too much. You have
right.
um four world class talents. I'm not saying players, talents, um, for two spots. And Lewandowski needs help on the forward line, so you can't play a two.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, I do. Ferran Torres has kind of been really good for them this year. I think on a
Hmm.
different point. Um, he wasn't good against Real Madrid, but I think he's been really good for them. I don't know in what capacity. I try not to watch Barca games because they're incredibly frustrating for me. Because they usually nab a goal late, and I'm just like, why did I turn the game on? Like it sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think and let me just look at the notes. Did you think it was a pen?
I didn't even see the challenge, to be perfectly fair.
I was
So
just it was a clear pen. Just Barca fans are being clowns. He
I'll
like
believe.
grabbed Vinicius by the neck and like pulled him back when he was going for a ball. Um, Tony Cruz also was really good on the defensive side. He's just really not good in defensive transition, which Barca is not a transition side. So that helped them. Lewandowski scores a wonder goal. Tony Cruz also 9 for 9 on long balls. Fede Valverde is probably if we had to make a world 11 right now, I think he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet for midfielders because he's been that good. And he gets this. Uh, he gets painted as like a physical only guy. When you look at his passing numbers and his creation numbers, they're actually really good. Um, but any other points on Clasico you want to touch on?
No, other than the fact that for Barcelona now, it has to be a point of concern. Um, Obviously, the Super Cup isn't the end of the world, but when you get humiliated against your biggest rival in the biggest game, that's not too good.
Would you be sounding the alarm bells? Like, would you be like, or would you just kind of take the season as it is and be like, we lost Gavi,
Yeah,
we
I would be somewhere in the middle, I think. I would be like getting ready to sound the alarm bells, if you know what I mean. Like getting
yeah,
into phase 1, so to speak. Obviously, if you've looked at any advanced metrics, Barcelona were very lucky last season to have conceded,
very
that many few goals, so to
like
speak.
20 or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
And they're
Yeah.
also missing Ter Stegen now. So that's a big deal. He's like the one point of continuity the club has had. You know,
And he's a good sweeper keeper. So like part of the issue is, just to talk about Barcelona, they play this high line with no DM in transition. Um, with Christensen, who is slow as dirt, with Balde pushing up the wing, and with Ronald Araujo, who is a center back playing right back to try and man mark Vinicius, but let's be honest, even the best defenders in the world don't get the best of Vinicius. Like so that being said, part of this has to go on Xavi. Part of this has to go on the Barcelona board for not preparing the club properly. But devil's advocate here. if your reason to not ring the alarm bells is because they have a lack of players, look at what Carlo Ancelotti is doing with his lack of players. No Militao, no Courtois, no Alaba. Been running with essentially no. I mean, we Vinicius has missed most of the year. Raheem Diaz has really stepped up. You know, we've had a slew of injuries throughout the squad. Arda Güler just came back. The only continuity we've had has really been Rodrigo and Bellingham and Fede. So and Rudiger. But, you know, that's not really much throughout the squad. I think those are the only guys that haven't and Bellingham, there's been rumors he's been playing with a dislocated shoulder. Um, so it's not like he hasn't really been injured. I'm sure he's just getting shots. But those are rumors. We don't know if they're true because I don't know if you saw, but like 2 weeks in a row, he kind of fell on his shoulder awkwardly, and I think he like injured it and then he made it worse.
Yeah.
But all that being said, you know, again, I think Barcelona have excuses. I also think Real Madrid have excuses and they're just don't care. But, you know, this is the typical Real Madrid bounce after a bad year. Real Madrid never have two bad seasons in a row as long as I've been a fan. Granted, we've only really had like two or three bad seasons in general, but um that being said, just, you know, it's never really back-to-back years. It's very rare. Remember, even the year where we lost Cristiano, we were terrible that year. The next year, I'm pretty sure we won La Liga. So like, you know, you're not, and I'm pretty sure we made a Champions League semifinal and lost to Chelsea that year. I'm pretty sure those were together. So yeah, just you know, but the levels are different. Like this is a Barca squad where um they have been knocked out of the Champions League the last couple of years in the group stages, then get knocked out of Europa League by a lesser side than them. Yes, I'm talking about Man United was worse than them last season.
Yeah, they were.
So, you know, I I just don't know where to draw the line for them. I think if they knock out Napoli, which they should do, I think it's okay. Like,
Yeah. And you know,
and Oshimen, who knows how deep Nigeria goes? They might not even have Oshimen like properly.
right. Let me look real quick.
I'm pretty sure AFCON ends like February 14th. And I know our Champions League game is February 13th. But we're the first ones. But my point being is that Oshimen, if he makes the final, might not be ready for Barca the week after.
Yeah. And Barcelona sit in fourth right now with Atletico right on their tail. If Bilbao and Girona can maintain the form, then you know, and Barcelona doesn't finish in the Champions League, then you really have to start to think about what's going on. I
That
mean,
would be
how
that
many
would be
more?
bad.
That would be very bad for them, especially financially. How many more levers can they pull? You know, like
Which they've already gotten in trouble for because they've been kind of fake in a way. That this isn't something we should talk about now because it's very long-winded and a very deep conversation. But long story short, they were supposed to receive money from people and they never did. And then they said they got that money and used that to sign players that they never actually got. So they're in trouble.
I just don't. I like. I don't know how you can be at the top level of a club like that and just. I don't know.
That
I
much
guess
mismanagement,
yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess. But it just seems like it could have been forestalled, so to speak, like many years ago.
well, you know, and just Real Madrid fan talking to me. They always talk about how great their academy is, but they have no problem spending a shit ton of money on Lewandowski and going to buy Koundé. And, you know, like if your academy was as good as you say it was, just start Eric Garcia and Ronald Araujo as your center backs. Okay, go Christensen on a free is a good signing. That's what they should be doing. Gundogan on a free is a good signing. You know
Yeah,
where their money should be going? Their money should be going to a fucking DM.
yeah. No,
And like they're being linked to a right winger in Brazil right now for like 60 mil. And like they definitely just feel pressure to sign him because of Real Madrid's Brazilian policy. I think his name is like Messi Ino, like
oh
Dino.
yes, Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, like they're very heavily want him. And it's just not good. They should go get Joshua Kimmich. That just put everything, sell Frankie, go get Joshua Kimmich. Maybe even do a swap for some money because Bayern is not like Kimmich is not going to re-sign, and you have FDJ on way too high of wages. And like this all goes back to like Messi. Like Messi's just a scumbag. Like at the end of the day, the fact that he had this club by the nuts, and they have not denied that he was making 550 million from them a year is incredible. The fact that they decided to pay him that much is incredible. Like Cristiano asked for a raise and Real Madrid said no. Like, they were like, sorry.
yeah,
They did it to themselves and their GOAT did it to them. So, blame and in turn when you give Messi a raise, Messi's boys that are all joining him are Inter Miami. I want to raise, PK got raised at the same time. Boozy, Suarez, dude, these guys were all making like 600K a week.
yeah.
And you can maybe afford like two guys to do that.
It's a
Maybe.
it's a mess. I know KDB and Haaland are on extremely high wages at City, but that's obviously a much different situation.
But there's
Um,
two of them.
exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, no matter how good Messi was for Barcelona, arguably the best we've
The
ever seen.
greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no matter, you have to plan for the future. Messi's not going to be, 2012 form forever. It's
They're probably
just
still paying them.
probably. But
Like that's why they're broke. They're probably still sending checks to Lionel in
yeah,
Miami as he fucking with his FIFA Best Award. Just sticking $1 million bills in his FIFA Best Award.
yeah, it's
God. And they never denied it though. That's the worst part about it. Like if it wasn't true, they would have been like, nah, come on.
it's sad, man. At some point they should have realized we need a transition from Messi to Neymar. In my opinion, I think that's probably how it should have went down.
They should
Um,
have sold Messi to City when they had the chance.
yeah, but this is all
1 year
spec.
left on his contract. They offered 100 mil. Come on now. That's easy. Real Madrid would have done that in a second. But that's the difference. That is the difference between the two clubs right now.
I
Real
think
Madrid reacts with thought while Barcelona reacts with emotion. And that's
right.
why I'm not in charge of Real Madrid because I'm like, fuck Kylian Mbappe, and that's me reacting with emotion. While Florentino Perez is like, man, I'm looking like, fuck this kid, but man, those numbers are looking really good to me.
Yeah, that's what
So
Barcelona are too nostalgic, and I'll leave it at that.
yeah. So moving on, EPL, uh, Newcastle go up 2-0, or was it 2-1 on Man City? It was 2-1. And then City come back and win 3-2 late as a Kevin De Bruyne masterclass, a goal and assist in less than 30 minutes. Kev, any thoughts on this game?
Uh, yeah, I've got a few. I've been recording on this podcast saying that I don't think it's City's year. KDB comes back, they automatically look much better. They're in second place, and I look like an idiot.
I
Um,
don't think you look like an idiot.
I was being a bit too reactionary, I would say, but the one thing I will say to sort of hedge what I've just said is that if you're going to rely on players like Oscar Bob to come in and score a late winner, there's still something worth considering. Good player that finished the touch to take it from his left foot to his right foot around the goalie and then just slot it
La
in.
croqueta.
Yeah, very, very spicy, very good. And the KDB pass sets it up. It's like a 30-yard through pass, which was just disgusting. Anyways, I don't know. I think we need to find out more about Ederson's injury as well. I don't think Ortega is that bad, but obviously
No,
not as
he's
good.
not good though.
Yeah, not as good as Ederson. If Ederson's out for a while, you might have some problems, especially considering how shaky the defense is. That's another thing I would like to point out. City still need to find a long-term partner for Ruben Diaz, especially if Gvardiol is going to play on the left. I know that in possession, City kind of run a three at the back with they rotate between Ake and Akanji and Gvardiol. Sometimes Stones if he can stay healthy, as well as Kyle Walker. although Pep has been giving Kyle Walker more license to go forward, which was working very well in this Newcastle game against a guy like Dan Burn for Newcastle. Um, Newcastle's mid block was the reason they scored those 2 goals. It generated a turnover high of the pitch for them. All of a sudden, they're on the counter. Gordon and Isak score some very nice finishes. And for a while, it looked like City were just going to continue to move up the field, generate a good chance, and then miss until KDB came on. And the rest is history. I don't know. What do you have to say about this?
I didn't watch this game. I had no doubt I literally sent the text because
Yeah,
someone put us in a group chat and asked us a question. I said City could, and I corrected it, should win this game in the second half. I said you can put money on it. They do. Um, KDB's the catalyst. Do I think KDB changes their season? No. KDB and Haaland, maybe. But losing Ederson is gonna hurt. We don't know anything about that. But this is why it's so hard to repeat because the injuries just take a toll. And this Man City squad has lost a lot of depth over the years. That's what happens. Guys get unhappy and they're like, I really want to play. Um, and they try to replace some of those guys and it doesn't work. Gundogan went to Barca. And Gundogan is playing a lesser role at Barca. The only reason he's playing more is because of Gavi's injury. But, he was a knocked on starter at City. He wasn't. He's been Barca's best player this year, in my opinion. But
yeah.
coming into the year, it was like, okay, Gundogan's on the outside looking in because, Gavi, Pedri, FDJ, um, you know, uh, whether you think Gundogan's better than those guys is fine. Pedri's obviously going to have injuries. It's really important to have depth. So you don't have this depth, but we see City really dominated the game. They had 85% field tilt, a 2.4 XT to a 1.1, a 2.3 XG to a 1.1. So there really wasn't any doubt that City was going to lose this game in a way. But I don't really like this City team. I think Pep um, needs to get a little innovative in the offseason and figure something out tactically. Um, because they're just really boring to watch. They're really like it's just
Well,
they're not fun. They were really fun in the past. They're just not fun right now. And Man City fans will tell you that.
yeah. Here's here's the thing with Stones being injured and they don't have the capability to do what they were doing last season with Stones pushing up into midfield because he would just clear the space out. He would dribble and take the ball like 30 yards up the pitch.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he turns into one of the best ball progressing midfielders in the world. Like, and Pep had the I don't know what the word is, but he had the intelligence to see that Stones could do it for him because they had a ball progression problem. Um, so there's that, and that's what they're facing again this season. Rodri isn't the type of guy to progress the ball in that sort of way. Um, he's going to link your defense in midfield. You know, so that is their issue. They don't have Stones, and they obviously lost KDB. So who's going to progress the ball? Kovacic hasn't seemed like he really gets into the team that much. I think he could be doing it for them, probably through dribbling instead of passing.
Nunez looks like shit.
Yeah, he has not integrated into the squad well enough. So
It usually
yeah.
takes a while, like I've said multiple times on this podcast. It usually takes about a season. Guardiola hasn't looked good either.
Mhm.
So, I think all that mixed together is why I don't think your take is a bad take still. I don't think it was reactionary. I think it might have been reactionary in the moment to what you were seeing, but really what you're seeing hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is they've added one of the best midfielders of this generation back to their squad.
Yeah.
Um, and it like if Real Madrid lose Tony Cruz and then Tony Cruz comes back in, obviously we're going to progress the ball much better. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's what happens when you have world class players, not talents, players in your squad. And that's why when they eventually add Haaland, you should expect another bump. The one positive is that Man City has to play Champions League football and Liverpool has Europa League. So Liverpool has the edge there. I don't really think Liverpool's going to care too much about Europa League. I think they're going to try to win it, but if they lose it, they're not going to be upset. Barcelona fans said this over the past couple of years. They were always like, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you win, everyone's like, oh, cool, you won Europa League. You're Barcelona. If you lose, you're like, damn, you lost Europa League. You're
Yeah.
Barcelona. Like
Yeah.
it's a fuck situation no matter what.
Mm.
So obviously, it's better to win it. For a club like Liverpool, who is competing for the Prem, what holds more weight, a European Europa League or Premier League? You think a Premier League probably does, especially considering City has won 3 on the bounce, and they're looking to win 4th to be the first Premier League side to win 4 in a row.
Yeah, that would
Is
be,
that all for the game? Are
yeah,
you good?
that's
Okay,
about
we
it.
can use that to transition. We don't even have Liverpool on here, but we can use this transition to a team that did win a European trophy, United. United and Tottenham tied 2-2 with an XG of zero point 0.6 to 1.38 and an XG of 1.06 to 1.34. And the field tilt was heavily in Tottenham's favor at 621 to 379. Um, Kev, I do have some Pedro Porro statistics here.
Yeah.
XT of 0.86. He accounted for literally half of Tottenham's XT. He had 4.37 progressions via pass and 1.95 progressions via carry. Kev, Pedro Porro, Tottenham, 2-2. Fair result. Thoughts? Go
Well,
for it.
yeah. Fair result. Spurs should have won the game. But Gary Neville said it himself. Yeah, the ultimate authority, Gary Neville. But
Yeah,
like,
the guy we always listen to.
yeah, but no, someone,
Jamie Carragher. He said it and believe it.
but someone who's not like. Anyways, Spurs
Someone
should.
who's super biased against United.
Yeah,
That's why it holds weight.
Spurs should have won this game. United's game plan was actually good though. They were looking to attack the flanks that the inverted fullbacks left, and they had the ability to do it with Rashford and Garnacho's pace. So that being said, I think Postecoglou could have seen this coming and maybe not started one of Romero or Van de Ven coming back from injury and saying, Dragusin, go. Just fuck it. Go. You're healthy at least. So,
Yeah.
my point being, Van de Ven and Romero would have had a lot of work to do in this game. But yes, Spurs should have finished more of their chances. Brennan Johnson missed quite a few in this game. Um, he still hasn't really found his finishing boots for us. I'm my cousin's a Spurs fan. We were talking about it. He's already out on Brennan Johnson. I don't know if I believe that, but yeah, I'll take the point away at Old Trafford at the end of the day, especially considering who we're missing at the moment. This also wasn't Vicaria's best game. The way that we play, he's gonna have to pull off some saves here and there, and it didn't happen this game. So can't do much about that. And Rashford's goal was pretty good. Um, I had a lot to say about this game. I just wanted to mention real quick for United. I think Ten Hag should be leaning into this transition identity way more.
We've talked about that a lot.
Yes. It has the ability to get the best out of Rashford and Garnacho. The one thing I will say is for Spurs' equalizer, it was because the midfield is so out of whack. There's a guy named James Lawrence Alcott who had a good video about this. He's leaving Kobe Menu with a lot of work to do, and the kid's like 18, 19 years old. And then, your two other midfielders are Fernandes and Christian Eriksen. Eriksen's more of an 8 these days, but he's not going to put in a whole lot of defensive work. Um, I don't
He's
know.
an old 8 too.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't have the legs. Um,
exactly.
do you mind if I just interject real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, Also something, because you're talking about United, just the mentality from United even post game was ridiculous. Like Rashford was like he posted on Instagram, was like, so happy to score at Old Trafford again. Finally. Like, dude, you literally drop points at home to a rival like that you're behind in the standings, and you're like, yeah, well, I scored. Like, so I don't like I a lot of people, United fans, blame the players, and I do think the players have some fault here, but at some point you got to get players in there with the right mentality. And buying all these guys that are kind of past it, isn't it? Like Amrabat he was a nobody before the World Cup. Like he was fucking plying his trade at Fiorentina. Casemiro and Varane are just happy to be there for a paycheck. Like, was that really smart? Like, you want to get hungry players. You want to get people that want to be there. You want to get people that are going to fight for the badge. You want to get people there that want to win, that want to win trophies. And I don't think United have that right now. So, but I think Ten Hag allows that though. Like,
Yeah,
and that's why I think Ten Hag has some blame there. Because like, if you continue to affirm Rashford's behavior by starting him and giving him minutes, you're accepting that I'm okay with that.
yeah,
Um, it's kind of like and this is obviously a much better player, but like Mbappe kind of like huffing and puffing around the field and like doing what he wants, and like he's able to do that because he's a good player, but he's performing and he wants to win, and like he might act like a prima donna, but like at the end of the day, he is good enough to do that. I don't think Rashford's good enough to be content. We talked
yeah.
about Tony Cruz last episode about how like, oh well, he doesn't really care, but he's a pro. Like Tony Cruz is good enough not to care.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, this is an occupation. You know,
Exactly.
it's a job for many of these players. I get it. Lots of players, football is their passion. They wouldn't want to do anything else. So when it comes to Rashford, yeah, it is strange. Damn. Oh, Bruno Fernandes is the same way, but no need to get into that.
I
Um,
I hate talking about that guy.
um, you know, a few more things about Spurs. I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid at this point in time. I would say that we are the third or fourth best team in the Prem with just half a season under Postecoglou. To
Better
me,
than Chelsea? Question mark.
absolutely, without a doubt.
No, that's a serious question because when you look at the advanced
Yeah,
metrics, you guys actually aren't that good. Not a shot, just
yeah,
because you guys give up a lot of XG, but you'll produce a lot of XG. But Chelsea produce a lot of XG and don't give up a lot of XG. So
yeah,
that was me. I wasn't like being an actual smartass. I was genuinely asking like your top three are Liverpool, City, then you guys. I'm not saying Liverpool and City. I was just naming them.
yeah. No, I think Liverpool and City are in the first tier, and then Spurs and Arsenal can kind of interchange at this moment in time.
Okay, that's fair. Arsenal are in a rut right now too.
Yeah,
Um, Good time to be in a rut though. Like I'd rather be in a rut now than at the end of the season.
yeah, for sure. Um, I just to answer that point about the XG, I do think because we've missed Romero and Van de Ven for huge spells, and also Madison's ability to retain the ball we've been missing. I think that's a reason why you see us conceding lots of XG. But it's also we play just a high flying system, so it's gonna happen. Um, the other thing, which I think we might just touch on in a little bit, but Levy keeps our books clean. You will never see Spurs in the FFP headlines. They will never be a part of it. I can guarantee you this. Um,
Is that because he doesn't want to spend money?
for the most part, yes, but he also, he only spends the money that he knows he can spend. Unlike
Yeah.
Barcelona, you know what I mean? Um, and we've been in a position where you see like these tables about the teams that are turning the most profits, the teams that have, the best net spend over the last few years. We're always in and around the top. Um, Besides this, if we're adding depth like Werner and Jagusin,
I was about to ask you about Werner's debut.
yeah, so he gets an assist and he already has more goal contributions this season than Anthony. Um, he looked pretty good. There was one chance he missed that was like, okay, but it was with his weak foot. Um, coming in and playing off that left wing, it looks like he already knows what he's doing. So I'm happy, and he'll be very important for us throughout this
You see
stretch.
how athletic he is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a freak athlete.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have him. What I'm really trying to get at though is that if Postecoglou has the ability to pick specific players for specific games, depending on the context, Spurs are a very dangerous team moving forward. This game he has to throw in Skip and Højbjerg into the midfield, but if he had his pick, and I know Afcon's going on right now, but leaving that aside, if he had his pick and he has the ability to really pick his team, Spurs are dangerous, and this is why I do believe we will beat City and win the FA Cup come the end of the season.
There.
Anyways, any additional thoughts?
I don't have any additional thoughts to this game. Just moving on.
Yep.
Uh, Everton, Ty Villa's 0-0, and this is prominent because Everton more FFP breaches, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds in this one, but um, you and I texted a little bit about this. It just first off, Villa's away form continues to be poor,
Yeah.
which is the reason they're probably not going to get top 4 or 5. Um, but we see Everton. There was another team that got in trouble too. I forget who it was.
Nottingham
Um,
Forest.
Thank you. It seems kind of fucked that we're hearing about all these teams at the bottom for FFP, but like the one team we all care about with FFP are like the couple teams or all the big teams, and we don't hear anything about that, and they kind of get away scotch free. At least this one, they say they're still doing an ongoing investigation. But if they're doing an ongoing investigation, then why did Everton already be punished and they're about to be punished again then?
I know, and Everton will probably get relegated now. If this is who knows what will happen. It's probably not best to be overly speculative about these things, but two-time offenders, their punishment I would say is going to be at least the same, if not worse. Then they're really staring down the barrel of relegation, and could be the end of the club. Like Everton don't necessarily, they're a big club and they don't necessarily plan to get relegated, if you know what I mean. It's not like it's not a part of what they do, and they don't really think about it when they operate. Obviously they
Hmm.
have sort of seen it coming over these last few years, but I don't know if you see what I mean.
I do. You would think these teams would know, but they clearly don't.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't really know. I don't have much opinion on it. I feel like we should wait before we really get into the weeds
Yeah.
about it.
It's well worth mentioning. That's all it
It
is.
is because it's prominent. Nottingham Forest also gets a nod. Um, so La Liga played this weekend despite Real Madrid becoming Spanish Supercopa champions. And Alaves beat Sevilla at the Sanchez Pizjuan 3-2, up 2-0 at half. Sevilla lose 3-0 on the bounce. And when you look at this squad, you got Ramos, Acuna, Rakitic, Navas, Juanly Sanchez, who's linked with Real Madrid, Ocampo, Suso, Januzaj, Luca Bacchio, and Nasiri Rafamir. This team shouldn't be fighting relegation, but they are. And it's kind of sad. And the problem is that, Monchi left them for Aston Villa, he did a good job there, but you kind of see like a super Depor fall from these guys, or a Malaga, which you hope isn't true because I'm pretty sure Malaga's in the Tercera right now, and super in Deportivo La Coruña. I don't even know where they are right now. Um, just really sad to see. Do you have anything to add to the Sevilla comments?
Not necessarily, other than the fact that I agree with you. Sevilla are, no disrespect to Malaga or Deportivo Alaves, or
Deportivo La Coruña, super Depor baby. They were winning leagues in the early 2000s, man.
I got you. I've mislabeled them, but they're a bigger club than these teams, and if we talk about it,
They are.
you don't want to see the historical teams fade away, like the Evertons, like the Sevillas. And
Yeah, it's sad.
that squad should not be fighting relegation. There's a lot of good talent there. Um, oops. Yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
Okay, yeah. Moving on. So we have three Basque derbies this week, and we already got one down. His Athletic Club beat Real Sociedad 2-1, and Real Sociedad's poor form continues. I know I talked to you about this, but Real Sociedad in the second half of the seasons always do bad, and they actually have the depth this year, but losing Kubo used to hurt. Um, it was at the San Mamés, which heavily favorites Athletic Club. I sent you that video today of them with their fans. How awesome was that?
That was good. I don't know if I was that on Instagram or
It was a Twitter. It was a tweet. I sent you a
Gotcha.
tweet. Yeah. Um, but Athletic Club go up 2-0 thanks to the Inaki Williams replacement, Berenguer. The amount of talent that comes out of the Basque region is pretty incredible when you really think about it. They fund Osasuna, they fund Athletic Club, they fund Real Sociedad. I mean, they really fund Athletic Club. Kepa from Athletic Club, Unai Simon from Athletic Club, um, Adoris from Athletic Club. God, the name Ander Herrera, remember ex-Man United player from Athletic Club. So they
Look,
really get. I mean, the talent pool from there is really awesome.
it is. It is. It's really interesting. Such a small region of the world, but you love to see that. Um,
It's like the size of I don't want to say a state, but I feel like it's the size of like a small metropolitan.
yeah.
No, the metropolitan's the wrong word. Like I'll just look it up. Just go. Sorry.
No, you're completely fine. No, to see them come in third or be in third right now is really cool, especially for a team that has obstacles in their way. Yes, the Basque region does produce a lot of talent, but if you're only going to sign Basque players, props to you for finishing in third in a very competitive league. Um, yeah, and like you said earlier, Ernesto Valverde seems to be getting the best out of these players. Nico Williams is gonna be hard to keep for them. He is looking better and better as time goes on.
Did
One of the
sign a new contract. So this is what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's about the size of Delaware, and I was right. It is about the size of Delaware. It's a little bit bigger than Delaware. Think about that. Think about how small Delaware is.
yeah,
So Delaware is 2,489 square miles, and the Basque region is 2,789 square miles.
that is pretty
That's
crazy.
incredible. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
you can drive from top to bottom of Delaware in, two and a
Couple
half, 3
hours, yeah.
hours. So that
And
is
just to say, do you this has to be another golden generation of Basque players, right? Like,
sort of seeming like, I Berenguer and Nico Williams on your flanks, that's a better wing combination than some national teams have. Um, but
yeah, and that's not even including that Inaki Williams is at UConn,
hmm
and they have Oin Sunset in the middle. God, who's up top for them right now? It's blanking on me. It's gonna drive me nuts. But the point being is that it just Gorizeta. And you have to remember that Mikel Oyarzabal is also from that region.
yep,
Berenchea is also from that region. Zubeldia, Odriozola, Zubamendi, like Iker Munayin, um,
yep.
Raul Garcia. I don't know if you remember the uh, he played for Atletico, the ex-Atletico player. You know what I mean? Like
I'm pretty sure.
it's incredible. Like it's incredible. You're world-class talents, that many coming out of that area. It's just, and they've been doing it for forever. That's the crazy thing
Yeah.
about it. Like, and I think it partially has to do with, at least in the athletic club model, that these guys know that the academy, like if you're in that academy, like you are gonna probably become a professional, and you're
Yeah.
probably gonna play for athletic club.
No, I almost want to do like a deep dive on it and maybe, we'll see, but see like what the how this has happened, what the reasoning is. Anyways, let's let's forge on here and Girona dropped points away to Almeria. Girona created nothing in this game. 0.25 xG. Alex Garcia gets sent off, and it was 5-4-1 death ball from Almeria. But it is how you draw and beat possession teams. Girona seemed to have over-rotated their squad. I'm not sure, this is why I put it in the notes. Maybe BJ knows more about this. Salvio wasn't starting and other guys as well.
They
It's like a
probably want to make a run for Copa because they know that's probably their best chance at a trophy, would be my guess. Um, and potentially get into Super Cup, which means more money. Second place plus a Copa is better than second place, no Copa, no Super Cup. If you know what I mean.
yeah, it makes sense.
Because if they get second in the league, they get Super Cup. If they make the final of the Super Cup, they get or if they get the final of Copa, they get into the Super Cup. So, I think that's probably the play there from them, would be my guess.
That would make
But
sense.
yeah, it's just, I think we're going to see this lead from Real Madrid gapping at this point because Girona's getting into the nitty gritty of the season.
Yeah,
And they're going to have Copa matches every midweek because they don't have any cup competitions. This is the cup competition for them. I think Real Madrid are going to grow that lead because they have a proper depth in the squad, and then Real Madrid will also use that to hopefully push for a champion. Use that lead and start rotating in the league. And
right.
but as we saw from the year we did the double under Carlo, Carlo rode that squad into the ground until the league was won, and then rotated heavily.
Yeah.
So he'll make
Just
sure the trophy's won. Let's just put it that way.
yeah. Just keeping in mind here, Almeria is a team that has 0 wins on the season and negative 24 goal differential. You know,
And Girona couldn't score one.
yeah, that's not what you
And
want to.
saw a red card in the 80th minute. So any chance they had of getting a late one was gone. Um, there wasn't really any other La Liga games that were interesting.
Mm-hmm.
In Bundesliga, Bayern win 3-0 against Hoffenheim, and Leverkusen grab a late 3 points as Palacio scores without Wirtz, no Boniface, but they absolutely dominated them. 2.11 xG to point 0.3, 2.6 XT to point 0.7, field till of 89. Is that the highest we've seen?
That's the highest we've seen so far on the podcast. Yeah, I think so.
So, and that defensive action, bro, 55. That's pretty incredible. That's definitely the highest we've seen.
That is pretty nuts.
Do you have anything to add other than just the fact that Leverkusen, not lucky, but happy to walk away with 3 points as they looked like they were getting one?
Yeah, if they didn't get the 3 points, they would have been unlucky, if anything.
That's what I would
You know,
say.
that's still impressive without your two of your top five players. I'll say that. Definitely one of your top two players, and so
Yeah.
the top four race continues to get juicy in the Bundesliga as Leipzig lose 0-1 to Frankfurt.
And Stuttgart lose as well, 3-1 to
Yeah,
Mönchengladbach. So just we have this Bundesliga is actually really interesting. We have like four teams fighting for top four, but the last two spots, and we have two teams fighting for the league. So it's a good year. And also just
absolutely.
another point is that not a single center back started for Leverkusen in that game.
That is well worth mentioning. That seems a bit like Tottenham Hotspurs this season. Um, yeah,
Except they were actually comfortable in defense.
right. Yeah, you
It's the
didn't have to.
difference.
Yeah, very good
Oh
point.
man.
Very good.
Um, Napoli lucky not to drop points against Salernitana. There we go. Got it. 2-1.
So
As they win late, but the two changes the conversation, right? But
yeah,
still, it's been ugly for this team lately.
for sure.
Um,
They're in eighth place right now, man. That former or reigning champions. That is. That's
yeah,
not what you want to see.
no, never. And they don't, they deserve to be better. Inter smack Monza 5-1, and Milan smack Roma, which leads to Jose Mourinho's um dismissal. And looking at the advanced metrics, bro, they didn't deserve to lose 3-1.
No,
1.45 xG to 0.27, 1.3 xT to 1. Field tilt 49.8 to 50.2. The field tilt couldn't have been more even. 45.7 defensive action at 44.8. So they were, both playing mid blocks. Like, it just looked like it was a game that was kind of unlucky for
For
Jose.
sure. For sure. I
And it
mean,
was
look,
in the San Siro.
yeah, no, that's even, if you look at the stats, it's impressive from Roma, if you know what I mean.
I
Roma did
agree.
Roma did have a penalty though, to be fair, when it comes to
Which
the
juiced
XG.
their XG.
Yeah.
But it doesn't juice their XT. It doesn't juice their field tilt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And when your expected threat is like this, when the field tilt is like this, it can lead to things like penalties. You want to keep in mind that like when teams do have penalties, sure the XG is going to be
point eight essentially. Yeah.
inflated, yeah, but the team is playing well, and I would say that leads to penalties won. So there's that
Most of the
aspect.
time. Most of the time for sure. And, Milan scored 1.5 from Giroud, but then the other ones were 0.05 from Teo and zero point 0.2 from Adley. So, you know, it wasn't like they were scoring like they scored a banger and then one that was a tough goal. Um,
Yeah,
so, but the one shot, wow. It looks like the one shot went bar down from Teo based on the placement, and it looks like the goalie probably should have saved it because it has a .06 xG OT, which means the xG on target, which means where the shot was placed.
yeah,
So it seems like Roma's keeper, whoever it was, had a rough game. Um,
that does explain it.
Mike Sivlar, and that's not normally their starter. So
Yeah,
to lose 3-1 to Milan without your starting keeper and I'm pretty sure also, let's put this out there, that pretty sure Roma have had a decent amount of injuries this year, which haven't
they have.
helped.
They have.
It moving on to AFCON, Nigeria draw Equatorial Guinea 1-1, which it was a strange lineup from Nigeria you have here. What
It
was
was
strange about it?
Chukwueze on the bench. Let me see. I'm pretty sure Boniface was on the bench.
Boniface injured though.
Oh, very good point. Let me let me double check for you. I know
I
for a fact.
know, I know, I know it. I know some of them had like whatchamacallit, God, what's his name? Uh, I can't remember the Iwobi at center back. But that wasn't true. My buddy watched the game. He told me. Um, but it looks like Iwobi was in midfield, like as
Yeah,
an
he
eight,
was
which is weird. It's not normally what you see. And, to walk away with a point in a cup competition or in a game like this isn't actually the worst thing in the world. You just got to get to the next round. Um,
for sure.
So they could go 1-1 and still advance. It looks like three teams advance, roughly. I don't know how that works out, but maybe the first team gets a bye because I'm looking at the group stage. Yeah, there's a round of 16. It looks like how many? One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay, so there's six groups. So 6, 12. So four. So two third place teams are going to get knocked out. Let's just put it that way. Um, And Nigeria, you got to play the Ivory Coast coming up, which is going to be a tough one. Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, lots of these players are traveling, and they might have just gotten with their team and whatnot. I just don't know why you wouldn't start Chukwueze. Um, I guess he hasn't been playing for Milan, but they dropped points, and now they're it's,
Lookman's class, though, so I guess you can kind of.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit too exaggerating. Anyways,
It's just
I,
tough because we don't really pay much attention to AFCON,
yeah,
or African teams in general. So it's tough for us to comment on, you know. And
yeah,
even when you look at the Prem, it's not like a lot of African players are playing for top Premier League sides either. You know what I mean? So yeah,
well,
just, it's here and there, but it's not as prominent as it probably should be.
yeah,
Moving on, Egypt draw 2-2 as Salah saves the day with a 90+6 penalty. And Egypt look to add to their AFCON trophies, which they've won more than anybody.
Yeah. No, that's not a good result from Egypt. If you need
No,
Salah to
terrible.
save the day. Anyways, I also wanted
Uh,
to mention,
no, go.
yeah, I just wanted to mention Ghana lose 2-1 to Cape Verde, who's like not terrible. They have a few players, but the Ghanaian golden generation is definitely over. It's over. If you look at that team, there's a few guys, but it's we see this happening, and it's probably happening with Belgium. It's happening with Cameroon. They tied 1-1 to Guinea. Um, so I just wanted to mention that. I grew up obviously watching the United States lose to Ghana in the World Cup when Ghana were really good. And now you see other teams enter their golden generation, like Senegal, who beat Gambia 3-0. Obviously, they're expected to win this game. But I just wanted to highlight a few things with this Senegalese team. Kamara, who is a 20-year-old midfielder for Metz and League One in France. He scores 2 goals. I think everyone should be watching out. 2.85 shot creating actions per 90. He's in the 72nd percentile. And this is across just the top 5 leagues, by the way. This isn't in the world. So this is against good competition.
Elite midfielder.
Yeah, 3.22 progressive passes received per 90, 74th percentile, 2.62 tackles per 90, 83rd percentile. So obviously you see someone who's dynamic when it comes to offense and defense. I'm not sure if he beat out my boy Pat Mete Sarr for the starting job in the midfield because he is knocked up. But if that's the case, it's not surprising. This guy's really talented. He will be at a bigger club soon for sure. And then I just wanted to say the Senegal team is pretty nasty, actually. Sadio Mane, Ismaila Sarr, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Jackson, Koulibaly, Diata, the Kamara guy I just mentioned, Pap Sarr, Niakate, center back for Crystal Palace, or Nottingham Forest now, sorry, and Edouard Mendy. 2026 run, I think it could be on the cards. Not to win the whole thing, but, looking ahead, I wouldn't be surprised if they cause some upsets here and there.
Yeah. Just, another team to touch on is the Ivory Coast, who won 2-0. Another team that should be a favorite. Um, who the right center back for Leverkusen actually finds himself on the bench. Kosanone, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He doesn't even get into the lineup, and their bench still has Willy Bali, Sergio Aurora, Nicolas Pepe. Um, their midfield's kind of weak they have a strong front, like a strong three with Kesse, Sengar, and Fofana, but beyond that, they're not deep. But in the back line, they're deep. In the front, they're deep. So um, keep an eye on this Ivory Coast team to continue
Yeah.
pushing on. And Cameroon tied to Guinea 1-1. Cameroon, just like Ghana, but
Yeah.
Guinea isn't terrible. Um, Elix Mariba was the best player for Guinea.
Yeah, he
Do you have any
was.
thoughts on that?
No, other than the fact that, Getafe looks like a better team for him now. I think, he might be able to find his feet. As this has shown, if he's going to be higher up the ranks in a club and given a platform to really showcase his talent, could be the case. I'm not gonna run into the sunset after a game in AFCON, but it's worth mentioning for sure.
If he continues the form, it'll look much better. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
When they get into the round of 16 and stuff, we'll keep our eye on it. Moving on to the Asian Cup, just wanted to talk about Japan win 4-2 as they're tied 2-2 and then come back and kind of dominate the last 20 to 20 minutes or so um, to win the game. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, this Japan team is deep, probably of the I would say of the non-European or South American team, and I'm including North America here, they're probably the best team from Asia, Africa, and North America. They're deep. Kubo doesn't even start for them. And a lot of their guys are plying their trade in Europe as they beat Vietnam 4-2.
Yeah,
Kubo did come off the bench though and assisted, I believe, the fourth goal.
yeah.
And your boys in South Korea. Oh no, go. Do you have anything to add to Japan?
No, yeah. I was just gonna say Minamino is someone we forget about, and he scored twice for them. He's a solid player.
Class,
Yeah,
class. And even though they conceded twice early, 16th and 33rd, you know, 11th, 45, 45 plus, 85, it was never really in doubt that Japan is going to win this game. And to me, are the clear favorites to win for me. Looking at the other teams, Qatar, they won their first game 3-0. Australia, typical World Cup frequenter, won 1-0. Um,
Qatar actually.
Beyond that, yeah,
No,
go.
Qatar actually won this tournament last. They're looking to
Wow,
defend the title.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
South Korea also won 3-1. And their team's also very solid. But they didn't play anyone really difficult.
no,
But when you have Heung-min Son, uh, Kang In Lee, you have talent there.
yeah. They have Kim Min Jae as well. Is he with them?
He is. He
I
started.
forget. And then yeah, but Japan are clear. I would say. I was
I
looking
think
for
so too.
Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu, I couldn't find him for them, but he's with them.
For
Um,
South Korea.
no, for Japan.
Okay, that's what I thought. But we were talking about South Korea. I was like,
No, yeah. I
maybe
went
I'm
back.
getting his nationality wrong.
I went back. Yeah, I'm with you. Japan should win team, and they what was it this last World Cup? They're in this group with Spain and Germany, right?
Yep,
And they made it out. So that's a
they're definitely good enough.
yeah, they're another team to keep your eyes peeled on for 2026. A lot of these guys will be peaking then. Maybe some of them will be a bit older, but no, they'll be ready for 2026 for sure. And this is what
Oh,
we're going to be
Japan's
seeing.
going to make a lot of noise in 2026, I think.
This is what we're going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing a showcase for what to expect in 2026 with the Euros this summer as
Okay.
well. But yeah,
Tomiyasu is working back from an injury. That's why he didn't make the squad.
I see. I
They're
gotcha.
allowed to bring 26, but they're only allowed to name 23, which I think is a much better. Um, I'm not sure if that's what they do for World Cup, but I would be a proponent of being able to name like 40 and bringing 40 to camp and then going from there and
Yeah.
trying to cut from where you see. Because like if I have two strikers and they both get hurt, and I only brought two strikers because I only run, I'm only allowed to name 23, and you know what I mean, like or 26, whatever you want to call it, and you can't. There's no like emergency signing in any of these tournaments.
Yeah. It is a tricky one. I would just,
Uh,
I would, no, go ahead.
no, I was just no go. Sorry, I wasn't gonna say anything of
No,
prominence.
it's just, part of it is about getting things right though, like I know you want the most even playing field, and that type of thing would help nations that rely on, only a few players here and there. But no, I also think 26 is good because it also forces the manager to have to make the right decisions, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
that's all.
but when you have someone like Greg Berhalter at the helm for the USA, he's gonna be a clown all the time. So,
Yeah, no, it's
anything
true.
else, Kev?
No,
Before
sir.
this one,
No,
we have
sir.
some Copa del Rey games this week. Um, FA Cup, I want to say too. I want to say
Yeah, we got
Middlesbrough
some.
plays Chelsea, and then Liverpool plays Fulham. Chelsea got to come back, and some replays this week, maybe,
Yeah,
or was that
today.
last week? Today
Today.
replays. Okay. Anything else going on midweek that we should let our fans know about?
No, there's no Prem. I haven't previewed Bundesliga or Serie A, but you know, obviously Bundesliga is always going to entertain us. And let's look at Serie A real quick, just because we can, and I want to.
Yeah.
Um, No, nothing
Serie
against
A
Roma.
scheduling is usually a little different than the other leagues too. Seems like they have something going on this weekend that we should probably pay attention to because they only have 6 games. Um, None of the big teams are playing, so I'm guessing they have some sort of cup this weekend. Um,
Probably.
Juventus. Let's look at Napoli's schedule.
Oh,
Supercoppa Italia semifinals is this week, Thursday. There you go.
that makes
That's why
sense.
they're not playing this weekend. Um, how do you feel? This is the last thing we can talk about. How do you feel about the Super Cups? Does England does not have one, right?
Um, no, it's pretty much the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, but
Which
that's not the same as a Super Cup.
it's not.
Um,
They have the community.
so Community Shield,
Yeah,
what's
which
that?
is
Is that the winner of the Super Cup versus the winner of the league?
it's the winner that yeah the FA Cup and the Prem face each other.
Okay, okay. Um, I, do you prefer the 2 team or the 4 team?
I think it should be two teams. I don't know,
You
man.
don't like the 4 team?
No, I just
What about in the Premier League where they have multiple competitions? Like, why not have the EFL, the FA, the league, and then maybe the person that got second in the league?
I don't know, man. I'm all for less games if need be. You know what I mean? I don't.
Understandable.
I know a lot of these are drenched in history, a lot of these cups, but that's just where I stand right now. You ask me on a
Okay.
different day, I might tell you something differently.
All right. Anything else, Kev, you want to talk about?
Leipzig, Leverkusen this weekend in
Awesome.
Leipzig. Yeah,
Looking forward to it.
yeah.
Um, Thank you all for listening. Go follow us on social media. Check us out wherever you listen to your podcasts. We also post on YouTube, and TikTok. We're trying to be more active on those to gather a more following. Thank you all for listening.
Yes,
See you,
sir.
Kev. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I will.